conversation without an end at this time. I do not have an end for you, but I agree that people deserve to know that it was his last Spiritual Saturdays.
I should have asked more about
No,
that.
no, no.
How that announcement should have gone.
No, I think it went perfectly. You know John Brooks, your chair from your board of trustees. The weight of the world. No.
I thought that we got the flowers and he brought it actually into our kitchen. It was really wonderful, John. And it's really heavy. Yeah.
I remember that day.
Once we emptied the water out, it was much better and we could bring it back. So we felt good.
Nice guy.
Nice guy. He is a nice guy. Yeah.
We are streaming. Okay, so here's what will happen. Today I will repeat everyone's question. We won't pass a microphone because of COVID protocols, but I will repeat your questions if you have any. If you offer a comment, I will repeat it because we have an online audience as well today. And the purpose of today is to talk about an idea that I believe has been evolving and unfolding for a couple years. And I describe it as an evolution of the idea of spiritual community. I believe it includes Sunday mornings. I believe it includes Wednesday evenings. I believe it includes adult education. But I believe it's no longer limited to these enduring forms in the way it has been in the past. And so starting in December of 2016, your Board of Trustees and your greater community sought to pursue the purchase of the 5.5-acre nature preserve to our south and to our east. And after a year of cumbersome negotiations and titling gymnastics, it was made so. And we began the process of restoring that 5.5 acres. It had to be restored by hand because it is what we call NGPA governed land. In a nutshell, land is restricted. And we are nearing the completion of that hand restoration process, leaving this community, the community of We Care Academy, our children, even the greater community with pristine, idyllic walking trails, gathering spots, appropriate for everything from Tai Chi to yoga to meditation to personal reading. It is stunning. This green space will be preserved along a quickly developing corridor for as long as you say it shall be preserved. It is ours, and we are most excited to share it with you. As of yesterday, we have an open conversation with a Washington licensed contractor and engineer, all of which are requirements, about building the hand bridge that will provide controlled access to the park from the church parking lot. Parkway. Well, that's a busy thoroughfare now, and starting in 2014, it will become 5 lanes even in front of our property to the highway. 2014, what did I say?
23, isn't it?
24. 23 or 24.
Okay.
Thank you for keeping me in the right decade. It's so good. Yeah, in 24, is my understanding, the construction will leave it 5 lanes from the highway to our property. Point being, the entrance is dangerous now. It will be more dangerous then, and it will cease to exist anyway. So we're in conversation about building the hand bridge. Essentially, one will walk from the church parking lot down an idyllic trail on this side of our salmon stream, cross a stunning hand bridge that's built in accord with a number of pretty rigid standards, by the way, affixed to the ground in accord with any number of rigid standards. And once one has crossed the salmon, one enters the series of trails and clearings. The indigenous plants are designed to be marked with markers. It's very exciting to me. It has been a great passion. That happened beginning in late 2016. This a piece of ground on the east side of your building, as you know, was transformed, special thanks to Tim Vokes, who did the lion's share of the design work, was transformed into a wedding and event gazebo area. Stunning gardens, now in their second season, continuing to look beautiful. And the latest conversation has to do with Soul Greens, which is a nod to Unity's roots in vegetarian food service. Charles and Myrtle Fillmore in Kansas City in the earlier days of Unity ran what was called the Unity Inn, or the Inn. There are original cookbooks that are available on the internet should you ever choose to peruse one. I don't recommend them. They are the idea of their cuisine was a radical departure from the sophisticated palates of today. You know, banana on bread, it's a sandwich. Well, I mean, you might call it a sandwich, but, and in the heyday of Unity's Inn, they would serve as many as 10,000 meals a week. We have deep roots in vegetarian food service. And so it was that we happened upon a cordon bleu trained chef who started as a pastry chef. Most in this room, if not all, have experienced some of her cuisine through the Friday Evening Arts in the Garden series. And she evolved from pastry into savory, and she is generously supporting the birth of Soul Greens, our nod to Unity's roots in vegetarian food service, by working with the county. To open a food service establishment requires a number of conversations. We're having conversations with codes. We're having conversations with the fire marshal. We're having conversations with the health department. All of these departments have stakes in such a venture, and they don't necessarily communicate internally. It is the client's responsibility to communicate with all of the respective parties. Reverend Nina Clark is the primary point person between Unity and Linwood and those parties, and she's doing an amazing job, let me tell you that. And so that process is continuing to move forward. It has been slow, and yet it is moving forward. Where are we in the process? We have met with the health department, whose representative was actually quite encouraging, and who quite liked the ideas that were presented by Robin and by Nina and by others of the exploratory committee. And that was exciting. And so the rough layout of the kitchen has been done once, and then it has continued to evolve. We are at a point where we're finalizing equipment again, making adjustments again, finalizing equipment, and getting ready to present to the health department a second time. When the health department receives a second submission, theoretically they will approve it, and then we are on the path toward construction. Is that correct?
Right now, I'm waiting, I'm in conversation with a planner at Planning and Development.
Planning and development conversation.
And once, we'll likely have to get a change of use permit. And so once we've established that we can do that, then we'll.
Okay, for a change of use permit, but we do know we're zoned for it. So that's the good news. So what we've learned is that we will be required to have what's known as a Class 1 hood. That has been the biggest causative piece of information that's evolved over the past few weeks. A Type 1 hood is a heavy-duty hood. It's basically the hood that any restaurant would use, even if they were frying meat on a griddle. It's a big hood that has fire suppression. It's a major piece of equipment, which has influenced some of the other equipment choices. It's even informed the potential layout of the kitchen. So that's where we are in the process. It's moving forward. It's slow. It is a bit cumbersome. We had hoped to be open by the time of the gala. It is appearing that greater wisdom will guide us otherwise. But we do continue to move forward, and And we're very excited by that. So the idea, when other churches have minimized their retail, ours has expanded. We now offer fair trade products, local artisan products, such as Stacy's 12 Powers tumbler. If you have not seen them, by all means, have a look. And I think the emerging idea of spiritual community, while it includes Sundays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays, it's broader than that. The idea is that, of course, we would come together on a Sunday morning, but we would come back on Monday and we would have a cup of coffee and talk about what that person said yesterday. Can you believe it? Well, I don't agree with, no, I won't go there. But of course we would come together on Monday and have a handmade pastry and a cup of coffee. And of course we would come back Tuesday and go to the nature preserve and have a yoga class or a Tai Chi class. And of course we would come back Wednesday for interlude. And then we would come back on Thursday and choose a meditation book and go to a meditation garden. And of course our friends and our families and our relatives would celebrate life's important moments in a wedding and event gazebo area or in this sanctuary. There are a couple conversations here. One has to do with the evolving idea of spiritual community. The other, in my opinion, has to do with the responsible use of our not insubstantial footprint in Snohomish County. To have a room that size, that in a traditional church model that would often sit empty for 6.5 days a week, to our way of thinking, there is a more responsible way to use that space, in keeping with the souls who salvaged We Care Academy from another failed organization, that our lower level might be used responsibly 5 days a week and not left vacant. So the responsible use of this stunning physical plant and the evolving idea of spiritual community from being something we do at regimented points during the week to something that we provide something that enjoys multiple entry points and levels of engagement. How are we doing so far? In short, I envision your board is graciously entertaining and cultivating a vision in which your campus is varied, it's diverse in activity and in people. It welcomes people in different ways and at different levels. Everything from a cup of delicious organic coffee, of course, to Sunday services, to holy and sacred time in nature, to celebrations of life's notable moments. And so we wanted to just offer that conversation to all who want to hear it. We want to answer any questions, hear any thoughts, and otherwise open the floor. How did I do? Did I miss anything?
No, you got it. You nailed it.
Nailed it? Nailed it. Wow. Can I answer any questions? Bring greater clarity. Expand. Doesn't it sound wonderful?
So when's the restaurant opening?
When is the restaurant opening is the question. I will relay the answer from Reverend Nina Clark in as best as she can deliver it.
At this juncture, we don't have an exact time.
We don't have an exact time.
Once we hear back from the planner as to what our very first permitting process is, then we'll be able to give everybody a better idea.
Like spring?
That would be awesome. I would think that by spring, but again, we're just waiting on, once we know what our first permitting has to be, whether we have to have a change of use. If we don't have to have a change of use, we go straight to the health department and things will start rolling. If we have to have a change of use, then there might be another step before we can do.
So the question on the floor is, when will the restaurant be open? The core question is, we have no way of knowing. The expanded answer, the expanded answer is we're waiting on what we believe might be one or two more pieces of information that will inform that answer. And yes, spring is a possibility. And so hold the high watch on that. Hold the high watch on that.
Who's going to maintain the pristine quality of the 5 acres or so out there? I mean,
Well, Earlene, usually the one who asks.
I was wondering whether I should get out my gardening.
Earlene's question is, who will maintain the 5.5 acre nature preserve? Thank you for asking that question. It is what I perceive to be a divine question, a necessary question, an important question, and it is one for which I do not at this time have an answer. Right now, we as a staff continue to work largely remotely, and there are a number of other factors. We're in a temporary time right now. It's difficult to answer what needs to be a more permanent question at this time. I don't know the answer. But you're right, the 5.5 absolutely needs to be maintained. What we have discovered to be a correct conclusion, again and again and again and again, is this. The hypothesis is, the more we use the land, the better it stays. So there is a broad answer. What will be important is that we get it open as soon as we can, because then when we have people on it, there's less mischief, there's less trash, there's less undesirable activity, and when we can go to the state at long last and say the land is being used, it becomes largely property tax exempt. Right now, because we are not formally using the land as part of our stated corporate function, right now we're paying property tax on 5.5 acres in the middle of Snohomish County. Please.
One of the ideas that we had entertained, just very tentatively, was having different people claim different sections of the trail, and that would be theirs to maintain. And so we might have 20 people back there maintaining little pieces of it, and that way it doesn't become overwhelming for anybody.
Reverend Nina reflected one idea, which is something of a portioned trail sponsorship maintenance program by community members, which I think is beautiful. So we will count on you, Erlene, for Miriam and Erlene. We'll get you the pickers. Other questions, comments?
No, I'm afraid I have to be picked for something.
You know, in so many ways, I think we are catching something as it is unfolding. You know, we are yet again the destination for a series of celebrations hosted by an area Islamic community. You know, this room was full of beautiful food until late last night, and you wouldn't know that, would you? And yet, isn't it a beautiful thing? Isn't that a beautiful thing to consider? That this center, that this physical plant is being responsibly, graciously, generously used in curiosity, in love, every day of the week. Do you know we have memorial services here? I do not remember the last week that we didn't have a memorial service in this space from Sunday to Sunday. You wouldn't know that, but isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful that this physical plant is a place where people come to honor life's important moments? I love that.
Is Unity kind of unique in a lot of the churches that it's a prime mover for interfaith cooperation? Or any other churches also, are we a prime mover?
There are other churches that do interfaith work. It is my belief that unity is two things. Unity is a teaching and unity is a culture. In my opinion, unity is a culture as well. It is my belief that unity, both as a teaching and as a culture, is particularly ripe for interfaith work. You know, our teachings, I believe, position us as vessels for that conversation in unique ways. No, we are certainly not the only spiritual community doing interfaith work. But I do believe unity as a movement is particularly ripe for that work. To me, interfaith work is one way our teaching lands on its feet. You know, we can't have a teaching of oneness and our teaching of oneness is better than yours. You know, we can't have a teaching that says there is wisdom and beauty in all authentic faith traditions and ours is the best. Other questions, comments? Welaine.
Yeah, I think this is all amazing and beautiful, and you know how I feel about the land. My one little thing that is noodling in the back of my head is when we have this restaurant, are we going to lose the fellowship after the services of that hospitality that we, you know,
The question,
money for our committees, but also I think it's important for us to be able to do that.
the question is, how would the opening of the restaurant impact Sunday hospitality? Will it change it? Again, I'm going to say the real answer is we have not, in my opinion, we haven't drilled that deeply into the administration of the restaurant yet. Do I predict that it will change Sunday hospitality? I do believe it will. Will it eliminate it? No. Will it prevent us from having social time and connecting with each other after services? No. I believe it will be done differently. There are conversations underway about what form that might take. It's my hunch at this point that it will look different, but it will not be absent, I promise. We like each other. We like each other. We like each other. You know, one of the things that the health department does permit us to do is, as long as the food is prepared in the kitchen, it can be presented in a buffet sort of format. You know, the possibility of a Sunday brunch is something that exists for us. And there are numerous such creative conversations that are on the table. There is no decision at this time, however. Other questions, comments? Meanderings. We've solved the land cleanup with Miriam and Arlene. I want you to know that Chef Robin Harville has a long history of working with volunteers. She has a long history in nonprofit food service as well. And so the working model is that the restaurant will be supported with volunteers as well. You will have the opportunity to work with a Cordon Bleu trained chef if you like. So that's something to keep in mind. I think that'll be quite exciting to some people when the time comes.
I'll sign my husband up.
Alan will be there. So that's what happens when you don't come to the meeting. Are there any other comments? Any other curiosities? All right, dear friends, thank you for being in the conversation with us. We so cherish walking this walk with each of you, and we love doing this unfolding with you, and appreciate your faithful high watch. You are welcome. Yes, I do have new shoes.
I'm noticing that they're,
Remarkably similar.
I almost wore light pants this morning, and then also last minute
Also the hair, from when you first started, I like your hair as it is now.
You like the bigger hair.
Yes.
You know, I think you're in the majority. I mean, and you'd be perhaps surprised or perhaps not at the number of people who have opinions about my hair. It is not inconsequential, the number of people who have opinions about my short hair versus my long hair. And honestly, I think you're in the majority. I think the majority of people want the longer, curlier hair. Bye, Rise Macon. All right, we've covered shoes, hair, and spiritual community. If there's nothing else, we'll consider our time adjourned. I love you all. Thank you.